School. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Lawrence. A heavy week is coming to an end with some stunning new developments that put the response to this shooting in a very different light. We've known the gunman's identity for days. Now we're hearing how he got into the school and when authorities actually responded. There's still a lot we don't know, but today's revelations came as a shock. Tanya Iser fills in the gaps on a shifting timeline of what happened.
A gut-wrenching admission today from law enforcement. For more than 70 minutes, officers waited outside a classroom while 19 children and 2 teachers lay dead and dying inside Robb Elementary. The incident commander having decided that he was no longer dealing with an active shooter.
Hey, for the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting now, of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that.
We now know the gunman entered the school from a door propped open by a teacher. Law enforcement initially said a school resource officer confronted the suspect before he entered the school. They now say that never happened and blame the initial confusion that often comes in critical incidents.
That officer was not on scene, not on campus, but had heard the 911 call with a man with a gun, drove immediately to the area. So he drove right by the suspect, who was hunkered down behind a vehicle, where he began shooting at the school.
At 12:03, more than 30 minutes after the first 911 call was made, 19 officers from various agencies made it outside the classroom door where the suspect was barricaded behind a locked door. Even as parents outside begged police to do something, they did not go in, waiting instead for a Border Patrol tactical team. 911 calls continued to come from inside the classroom.
You could hear over the 911 call that 3 shots were fired.
35 minutes after the tactical team arrived, officers broke through the door and killed the suspect. By the time it ended, the suspect had fired more than 300 rounds, and he still had plenty more. Just 2 months before this tragedy, the school district had trained for an incident like this, holding an active shooter response drill. Families, neighbors, the Uvalde community struggling to understand.
I'm sick, I want to throw up, I'm angry. I mean, this guy needs to resign.
Look, there are a lot of unanswered questions here, such as what, if anything, were the officers at the scene told about those 911 calls from kids inside the classroom? But still, it's pretty clear there were some significant mistakes made here.
You know, Tanya, we heard a lot about how officers' response changed due to the incident being labeled a barricaded suspect versus an active shooter. I don't understand. Like, what's the difference?
Okay, so look, after Columbine, there was a tremendous change in the way that law enforcement responds to these kinds of incidents. You know, Columbine officers waited outside, and of course, a lot of people died as a result. So after Columbine, what they did was, if you have an active shooter, you go in, you confront, you deal with that shooter, and it saves lives. And a barricaded person, what you're going to do is you're going to slow the situation down, you're going to wait for tactical, you're going to set a perimeter. It's a whole lot of slowing things down, but when you're dealing with an active shooter, you act quickly and you act decisively. Back to you.
2 very, very different responses. Thank you for clarifying that, Tanya.